It is our Wow Wednesday of this week. Welcome to the Healthy Women of Faith group. I am Alicia. I am the founder of this group. Recently renamed to Healthy Women of Faith. Used to be Healthy Moms of Faith, but just have found that a lot of the things we struggle with applies to women in general. So that's why I changed the name. So if you are watching in the group, say hello. Let me know if you can hear me. I'm going to double check and make sure that we're alive in the group, that I am actually in there. If you're watching, though, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you're excited to learn about how to simplify your tracking for food and water. I'm going to be teaching you a way of tracking different sorts of goals, but we're just going to focus on food and water today. So if you're looking for an easier way, less complicated way to track your food and water, then this class will be for you. I'm super excited to share this with you. Put me in the comments if you're excited to learn about this today. I see that I am live. Hey, Andrea. Hey, Barbara. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. If you're new to this group, welcome to the group. I created this group, this community for women who want to follow Jesus and be empowered by the Word of God. Just to grow our health as a whole, so not just physically, but spiritually as well. And so I want you to understand how to study God's Word and how the Word empowers us and the Holy Spirit helps us to be healthier as a whole. And we're doing some things here in this group, specifically working a lot on our food addictions or food cravings, or working on self-sabotage mindsets, getting rid of those things. And we're also working on managing our stress and taking time for ourselves to manage our self-care and to get healthier. We're doing this so that we can lose weight and have long-term mindsets towards our health journey. Okay, and we're doing that by understanding our worth from who God says we are in the Word of God, that we are His daughters, right? We're children of the King, right? So if that's something you're running to learn about, then you're in the right place. That is the focus of this group. So I hope that you will get some things out of this. What I want to share too is what I teach in this group and what I really believe. I really, really believe God's shown me some things over time. I started my health and fitness journey about 16 years ago and really was just more focused on the physical side of it, not really the spiritual side of it. And so what I found and what I really believe is that God desires to see us healthier as a whole. And that's in spirit, soul, and body. And so that includes our mind, our heart, our emotions, the reasons why we're doing things, not just doing them, right? And I believe this because I believe God designed us to thrive in life, not just survive. And I think sometimes as women, as moms, we have this tendency to survive life and it overtakes us, right? And I don't think that's how we're supposed to live. That's not how God originally designed us to be. And while our bodies, our flesh might have some struggles still, God, with the help of the Holy Spirit, if you are a follower of Christ, He's designed us to live a different way and in freedom. Cool. So that's why we're here in this group. That's why I want to provide some things in this group. I want to give you some understanding. Like today is going to be a lot more educational on how to track your nutrition and some things behind that. So it's going to be a little more physical today. But you'll see, and go ahead and check out the guide section in this group because there's a lot more trainings that I have. Some of them are more spiritual focused, but I really try to help you understand and apply the spiritual aspect or biblical aspect to our physical health. Okay, so hopefully I will be helping you in this group, or we will be helping you, this community. It's not just me, it's all of you working together, helping each other out, encouraging each other. And so we're building healthy habits, whether that's spiritual or physical. And we're going to be working on changing things to make it a lifestyle, to make it a complete transformation of your health as a whole. Okay, so if you're excited about that, let me know in the comments. Put me. I see my Linda's watching. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, Dominique. Thanks for being here. Of course, I did ask in the group So if you see me put up a poll, you see me put up a question, I am really looking for what you guys are struggling with when it comes to your health, specifically for those four main things that I mentioned in the beginning. But there are a lot of things that can be incorporated in helping those four different things: managing stress, working on cravings, working on food addictions or self-sabotage. So there's a lot of aspects, but I try to simplify things, and that's why I have these classes. That's why I ask specific questions. So I really could use your help. If you see those polls, I try to put them up at the top of the announcements so that I can see what you guys are struggling with and if there's some things I can help you with. So actually, this class was birthed out of a poll asking, you guys, how do you feel about tracking your food? And so today I'm really excited to share with you not only just how to maybe simplify it, but also why it's important to do and how it can really become your best friend when it comes to your weight loss journey or your health journey. Okay, so if you haven't yet, grab a notebook. I would highly recommend at these master classes you take some notes, because I'm going to give you some value. And if you find it valuable, please let me know. I am a health coach. I offer different services that are costs. But this group also wanted to be a place where we can change some mindsets, we can work on some things. I have some free resources to give you today to help you get going. But again, I'm going to hyper focus on the fact that if you're in this group, even though it might be free, I want you to take some action. And so take some notes, learn some things. If you're going to be here in this group, if you're new to the group and you're just kind of checking it out, that's totally fine. I get it. But I just want you to know this group is a group of action. And so we do challenges and do things. And I want you to participate. If you're really committed to working on your health, then I want you to take these things and apply them to your life. Okay? So grab a notebook. And again, stick around because I do have some free resources to share with you. I'm going to share with you how they will help you with your nutrition tracking and kind of explain some things. So stick around so you can let me know if you want some of those things. Okay, so we're going to get going. The first thing I wanted to kind of tackle with this is the why. Right. I think if you know me, if you watch any of my trainings, we need to kind of step outside of things, because sometimes we're just doing things and we don't really know why we're doing things. And so I don't know if you saw, maybe you can read it later, but I put some notes to kind of preface this class today. And so if you've ever counted calories, if you've ever used MyFitnessPal, if you've ever done any type of tracking before, let me know in the comments. Just put yes. I've done tracking before. Just put yes in the comments. Let me know, because sometimes we get into this mindset of, okay, I'm going to do this. This is going to help me. And we don't really necessarily understand why we're doing what we're doing, right? Maybe we have some form of why, right? And I've done all these things. I have used MyFitnessPal. I used it probably for a good solid 2-3 years straight. And it was helpful. But what I found, what I'm going to share today, is that there's just a much simpler way. It doesn't have to be very complicated. It just takes a little bit of education and some understanding. Okay. So I want to talk about the why really quickly. Why do we need to track our food or water? Or here's another thing to think about, or factors that affect your health. Okay, again, like I mentioned, I'm going to talk about food and water today, and just keep it simple for this class. But you can track a lot of things that can be very beneficial to understanding what's going on with your health as a whole, right? And so it's really important to understand these things. I wanted to share quickly a story, just part of my story, just actually recently. I have this new watch, and it tracks my sleep patterns. I don't know if you guys have a sleep tracker or a Fitbit or any of those things, but some of the, what's the word for these? Fitness tracker, health tracker. There we go. A lot of the newer ones, they're new and they've got all these different features. And so I recently got a Garmin, because my husband has one. He loves it. And so it tracks your sleep patterns. And so I've been kind of watching my sleep patterns. Sleep is something that I'll be honest, I'm still trying to figure out how much sleep I need. I struggle with an autoimmune disease. And so fatigue is one of my biggest things that I struggle with. and I worked on my nutrition and I worked on different aspects. And so figuring out how much sleep I need is still something I'm trying to figure out, and what time I should go to bed and what time should I get up, because I struggle every morning to get up. I'll be honest. Recently, side note, I've just been telling my husband to bring our dog, let our dog come up and wake me up, because it's like, who doesn't want to wake up to a fuzzy face, right? And she licks my hands and stuff. So I'm working on some things to help me make some better practices with my sleep habits. And so I've been watching my sleep habits on my app that I have. And you'll have periods of deep sleep, light sleep, REM sleep, right? If you know anything about sleep. Well, I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, if I could just wake myself up during a light sleeping period of time, I wonder if I would just wake up easier or better. And it may or may not be true. We'll see. But I've been watching this, and then I actually was doing some research in my nutrition certification that I'm working on, and it was talking about this. It was like one of the top things, that there were some patterns of things to help with your sleep. And that was actually the top thing. They said, get one of these and watch your sleep habits. And they were like, try to wake yourself up in a lighter sleep when you're sleeping lighter. I was like, oh, I'm on the right track. Yes. And so I've been tracking this, right, with my app. And this is just an example of how tracking can help. Okay. Not saying you have to get a Fitbit, but it can help with maybe this aspect. And so I know when I go to bed at a certain time, when my sleep patterns are normally, they're between like 6 or 7, the light sleep. So anyways, all of that to say that because I've been tracking this, now I can probably start trying to apply something there. Like maybe I can try to wake myself up between 6 and 7 and see how it goes. So another way, since we're going to be talking about food and water, tracking your food and water can be really helpful. If you struggle with inflammation, if you struggle with constipation, we'll just start with those. It can be really helpful if you're tracking the types of food that you're eating, because for inflammation, specifically, like for me, where I was going to share one of my clients, she had been in a routine, I don't know how many days it had been, of eating a lot of, I think it was potatoes. And it was just a little more than she normally had. And she was having some issues with her gut. And I was like, well, maybe it's the potatoes. And I don't remember if it exactly was or not, but she did some other things. And of course, drinking water can be really helpful with constipation or gut issues. And so it's just knowing what's going on. And so I want to share this first thing with you. That's the reason I'm telling you this story. Is that the first thing that you need to know with tracking your health, that needs to kind of be in your brain, not just from the food perspective, but even from health factors, all sorts of things, is you got to know what is going on. What is really happening? Sometimes we don't want to write things down because we're afraid it's going to be negative, right? Well, I had that piece of chocolate and I know I didn't eat good there. And here's the thing. Here's the huge thing that I teach and I talk to my clients about, is that tracking is a way to know what's going on. You have to be aware of where you are, right? And so we can't have this whole perspective of it's always going to mean that that's a negative thing, because actually it can be a really positive thing. It can help you know where you're at. And so nothing can change if you aren't aware of what's happening. So that's why this is really important, that tracking in some way, shape, or form. And like I said, I'm going to share with you a simple way of doing it today that can help you get started. But there's a mindset shift that you have to make. And the thing is this is a tool. Tracking can be a tool. I remember when I was working with my nutritionist, it was several years ago, and she asked me to start writing my stuff down. And I was like, seriously? Like, it feels like a chore, right? It feels like another thing I have to do. But here's the thing that I found was I started training my brain, and she started teaching me these things, that for my nutritionist to help me, she had to know what was going on. She had to know what things needed to shift, right? What was I actually doing? And so we have to know where you're at so that we know also from a positive perspective, what is working? What are you doing well, and what is your body responding to, and what does it like, right? So there's two sides to it. It doesn't have to be negative, right? We just need to see where we are. And again, reminding us from a mindset perspective that tracking doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, okay? It's not about perfection, it's about progress. We have to get this into our brain with any area of our health journey or losing weight. You got to know where you are so you know where you can go, right? Everybody agree with that? So again, as your coach, here in this group, or if you're training with me, in one of my programs, I can't help you know what's going on and what to change if you don't show it to me, if you don't keep track of it, okay? And so there's a simple way that I teach this if you work with me. And again, I'm going to share some of that with you today. But let's face it, there's a lot to remember sometimes, right? And so it can feel like a chore. And so here's the thing, with us being busy, this might feel like an extra thing that you need to do. But if you're really wanting to work on your consistency, if you're really wanting to know the amounts of portions that you're eating, if they're the correct ones, then we need to take some time to do this. And that's why I wanted to share with you how to simplify it. Okay, does that excite anybody? So put in the comments if this makes sense. They have to know what is going on. So just put what in the comments and let me know if this makes sense to you. You understand tracking. It can be really helpful. It can be a positive thing. It can help us see where we're actually doing well, right? What does our consistency look like? Oh, I did have any of you who did the 3 hacks challenge, or you've done my 3 hacks, your water, veggies, and protein. If you're tracking that, you can see, hey, I did do pretty good on my water today. Hey, I did have enough veggies today, all those things. So it can be a positive thing too. So I wanted to put that mindset spin on it, because sometimes I think we just start thinking that, tracking is a chore. I'm just going to be horrible at this. I'm eating horrible. You can't say that if you're not tracking. I hear women say that all the time. Oh, I went out to eat and it was horrible. And I'll be like, well, what did you eat? And they'll tell me, oh, I had a salad, I had some chicken, I had some potatoes, I had a dessert. I was like, did you drink some water? Oh yeah, I had some water, or I had some tea. Okay, great. Well, you did at least 2 of the hacks. You had some veggies and you had some protein. That's a win, right? So sometimes I think we're too hard on ourselves. And so we got to actually take some time to write it down. Okay, is that making sense? Jennifer says what? Andrew says what? Awesome. All right. So that's the first thing I wanted to just help with. That is mindset wise. It doesn't have to be a negative thing. It can actually be a very positive thing, and it can help you know where you're at so you can work on your progress, so you can work on consistency. Okay. So the question is, how do we simplify this process of tracking? And I mentioned in the title of this, you don't need an app. Now, when I was learning, and I'm going to share my 2-step process to this, because there is some learning, there is some education that has to happen with this. And I'm going to share with you how I've done it and how I teach it to my clients. So I'm not saying it's going to be a one and done thing. And like I said, I've got some resources to help you out to start doing this, but you don't really need an app. But I will share with you here in just a second how an app could be helpful, how MyFitnessPal could be helpful. And if you're already doing that, I'm not dissing that. I'm not saying you should stop doing that. I'm just saying, if you understand a few things, you don't actually have to use an app, and you don't have to be so focused on calories if you understand food a little bit better. Okay, so my 2 simple process, and again, it really does make it very, very simple. It may not feel simple right now, but let me tell you, as I explain things and as I've learned, it's taken me a few years to kind of work on this, but I want to share this with you because this gives you control. This gives you power, and it also does save you some time. Okay, I promise in the long run, that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to make things simple, we're trying to save some time, and we're trying to actually reach goals, right? So here's the thing. This is a 2-step process to understanding, okay? Before you can understand how I've kind of simplified my process, you need to start to learn or continue to learn how to distinguish what types of food you're eating. Okay. When I talk about my 3 hacks, right, I've mentioned there's certain portions you should eat of those and why you should eat those amount of portions across the board, just like an average, right? Everybody's a little different. But what are you eating? There were some questions that I asked in the group. I'm going to go ahead and answer Barbara's question. I think it was, I wrote it down. Let me make sure. Is it Barbara's question? I know I'm going to answer most of your questions throughout this class. So if I don't answer your question, let me know. And if you do have any questions, hold them to the end. I'll let you know when I'm going to do a little Q&A, because I might answer it in this process. I forgot what I was going to say and which question I was going to answer. But anyways, so we just need to know what we're eating, right? So that's why I talk a lot about macros, okay? Understanding a food's major source of fuel, right? How is the veggies you're going to eat, how are they going to help your body? How is protein going to help your body, right? I've talked a lot about that. If you, excuse me, if you haven't heard me talk a lot about that, then again, I have a resource. Don't sweat. That is going to help you get going on this. If you've never heard of macros and you have no idea, it's okay. I've got some things for you to kind of help you start thinking this way, because it can be, once I started understanding food as fuel and the major sources of macros that we need to be eating. Again, macros is just a big word, just means the major sources of food that we need to fuel our body with. Once we balance these out, this is where the key can really come in losing weight and or whatever health goal you're working on. Okay, so that's the first thing. The first part of this process is understanding macros. Okay. By the way, if anyone's interested, it was a paid class. It was $47, but I explained macros. It took an hour. So if you would like to purchase that, I have it. And like I said, it will just explain things a lot more. Again, it takes some understanding. It takes some practice. It takes maybe some help. And so I've got some things today. But if you really, truly want to dive deeper into macros, let me know. Put macros in the comments, and I can reach out to you and let you see if that's a good fit for you. But I explain a lot more in that class, okay? So this is where it can kind of become confusing, though. And that's, again, why I did a class on it, because it took me some time to figure this out, too, with some help and some training. But figuring out your major food sources that need to be balanced. And again, everybody's balance is going to be different, but there's an average that I teach people that you start at. And so knowing what you're eating is the first part of this, okay? So, and this is where the key can come into the second part of this. I'm jumping ahead just a second. I'm getting really excited. So again, going back to just knowing what you're eating, understanding macros, this can really help you make better calorie choices. You know how when you were calorie counting, you would, or I know there's a lot of ladies who've done Weight Watchers before, and so there's a point system. I'm not sure how they do it now, but I've talked to a lot of you who've done Weight Watchers, and so sometimes I wonder how the point system is set up. But if you understand how much protein you should eat, how many veggies you should eat, or at least start with carbs. And then we've talked about water a lot here in this group, right? There's a certain amount of water that everybody should be focusing on. If you understand that, then really that's all you have to keep track of. Okay, but MyFitnessPal could help you understand that. But again, stick around, because I have a free resource that will help you understand macros. I kind of lay things out. So when you're just counting calories, sometimes you run out of calories and you're still hungry, right? Because if you're just focusing on calories and not the type or the source of your calories, if it's a better food source that's going to make you feel more full longer, that's going to keep giving you energy throughout the day, then it becomes frustrating, right? Because then you just feel restricted. And you're like, now I can't eat anything the rest of the day, right? Yesterday I had a Scooter's protein shake. They have those like power protein shakes. And I was in a hurry. I didn't really pay attention. And they were like, you want a large? And I was like, yeah, I'll take a large and put an espresso in it and whatever. We were in a hurry. I went and looked up how many carbs and protein was in there. It was a protein shake, but there was 90 carbs in that thing, a large. I was like, oh, well, there's all my carbs for today. Or the calories could have been high. And this is the other thing, is that even though, the calories could be a certain amount, if it's too many carbs, or it's the wrong kind of not wrong kind of carbs, but like not the better sources, you know what I'm talking about, then you end up running out of calories and you're like, well, I guess I can't have dinner, right? And that's not the purpose of food. Food is supposed to fuel your body, and you do need to have it in pretty regular intervals throughout the day, depending on your body type, okay? Sorry, this is kind of a side story. But anyways, there are just some things to understand about food, and I've talked about some of those things in this group, and so hopefully that makes sense. But again, this takes some time to learn and practice, and so I've got a resource to help you with that. So that's the first thing, is knowing really what you're eating, okay? The second part of this two-step process, that is the very, very simple method. It's very, very simple. Can anybody guess? I know some of you know me and you know what I do, but it's very, very simple. And here's the first thing. Whether you know what food sources are and how many you should have, you don't have to know everything when you first start this. But the very simple way that I do it is on a notebook. This is it. I write down what I eat. And I have a template that I'm going to share with you guys today of how you can do this to keep it very simple. I have 3 days. I don't know if you guys can see that. 3 days on one piece of paper. I found this notebook. I'd had it forever. And I know sometimes, like when we're traveling, that could be hard bringing that with us. So an app could be helpful. I have times I track. I track most of the times. Sometimes I don't track. Okay. But the more that I track, the more I know what I'm eating. And here's the thing that I think I was going to say is that, again, you don't have to know all the whys of what you're actually eating. You just need to start writing it down. You just need to start being aware of it. Okay. And like I said, I have a template that can help you understand this. I have 2 different resources that I think will help you out with know what you're eating and start working on practicing macros. Okay. And then just a simple way of writing it down. I think I know what I was going to say is that I don't always track while I'm on vacation, but the more that I practice it, the more I actually know what I'm doing. I know where I was going to go, is that I used to have this kind of rule in my own head that if I couldn't remember everything I ate in a day, that that was going to be kind of a bad thing, right? But again, and here I can, because I practice so much and I eat a lot of the same things consistently. I can remember, if I forget to write down my breakfast, if I forget to write down my lunch, by the time I get to lunch, I can remember what I had for breakfast and what I had for lunch. I can almost remember everything I ate in a day if I forget to write it down. But if I go one day and the next day I didn't track the day before, I can't always remember everything, but I can remember almost a day, because when I've done it, I eat a lot of the same things consistently. But also I know what I'm doing. I know what I need. Okay. So that's just me. But I would say in the beginning, if you're really trying to know what you're eating and make sure macros are balanced and that kind of thing, then just start writing it down. Okay. I think that's where sometimes it gets too complicated. I know when I used my Fitness Pal, it took me forever sometimes to find the thing that I wanted that was, if it was on the package, if it was the right calories, if it was the right macros, like scanning it in helps sometimes. But it just took a lot of time, right? And I just got really tired of that. And I was like, this is becoming way more complicated than I want it to be. Okay. So the key to this two-step process is just starting this process of knowing what you're eating and writing it down. Okay. And you can't really have one without the other. You have to just start writing it down. Okay. And I really believe writing it down on a notebook is probably the most simple that I've ever found. And like I said, I've done all the apps, I've done all the things with that. But now that I understand macros and what I need to eat for the most part, or if I was to work with a coach or a nutritionist and they were like, you need to eat this amount of carbs and this amount of protein, I would know what I need to do, right? Balancing macros was the question I had. Okay, Barbara, I will definitely get to that. And like I mentioned, I'm going to go into macros today because I've done that before, but I do have a resource, free macro guide. Thanks, Linda, for letting me know I'm back. I will share that with you because that is that we do have to start, and I do take some time, watch some of the other classes that I've done, because I do help you understand some of these things. But really, the takeaway I want you to think about today is just start writing things down. If you don't have an app, I would highly recommend not using an app when you're first trying to start tracking. And again, you can use my template. I'll share that with you here in just a second. I was going to try to share my screen because I'm going to show you this template. I'm going to show you those two resources that I mentioned. And if you want these, just put free in the comments and I will get these to you. Okay, can everybody see this? This is my macro guide, okay? So this is where I've taken food sources for the most part and broken them down so that you know what is a protein, and just giving you some ideas here. And then I've broken down the higher calorie carbs. Those of you, if you've done any of my challenges where we've done food challenges, breaking down high calorie carbs and then your lower calorie veggie carbs. These are where we want to focus on getting 3 portions of that in a day. Okay, so and then I broke it down fats, and I've given you some general ideas in each section of where to start with your macros. Okay, so there's that resource that I have, and then there's this. Here's my nutrition tracking journal, I call it. So I have a bunch of other health things that I have on here, but here's your water. You can put your daily goal that you should be working towards if you take vitamins or supplements. And then here are where you can write if you understand more of your macros. Again, if you don't right now, that's okay. What I would just recommend is writing down right here what you eat. This is just an example, right? So you had 2 pancakes, you had 2 eggs, whatever it is, just write it down. Write it down. And this is where, again, as a coach, I need to see what you're actually eating so that I know what's working and what maybe is not working, right? So just being very simple with it. This also, I think, really helps when you start writing things down. I know the question I was going to answer now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. The question I had seen was, how do you count, all the things for like a casserole, right? Here's the thing. Again, this is where the perfection, it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? You're going to go to some potlucks. You're going to go to places where you're not going to know exactly what is everything, right? But for instance, for a casserole, if it was like a breakfast casserole, maybe it has potatoes, maybe it has cheese, probably has some eggs. You know that you're probably going to get some carbs, some protein in that if you know that potatoes are carbs, if you know that eggs are protein, and that eggs have some fat in them. Okay, so there's a general process that you have to learn in order to know when you're out. But again, it's not about perfection. It's because there's going to be some other times where you're not going to really know how many calories it is, right? But if you know the food sources that are in the calories, that are in the casserole or whatever, then you can really define more so what you ate and look at your portions and stuff. Okay, again, this is where it might feel overwhelming by me talking about all this, but it just takes some practice. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. All right. So just remember that if we want our habits to be better, we got to know where we are, right? That's the first thing. So the first thing was knowing what to do. And then the 2-step process that I talked about was working on macros, understanding what your food sources are. And again, that takes some practice. I've got some help with that. And then the second part of that process is just writing it down. If you don't take anything else away today, my challenge to you is just start writing it down. Take this template. You can also make a copy of this template if you use it online, and you can edit it. I have a client who she added some things that she wanted to track. And again, this is where tracking certain things that are different for your body than someone else can be really helpful. But we all start somewhere. We all have to start with our food and our water, right? So just start writing it down. What I do with my water is I just put it up at the top and I just put tick marks. That's all I do for my 20-ounce bottle. So if you know how many ounces of water you need to drink, and you know how many ounces are in your water bottle, then roll this up. I just put a tick mark, and I know, okay, I need to have like 4 of these every day. Okay, but you can track it however you want, but that's how I simplify it. Is whatever water bottle I'm using, whatever water bottle I'm carrying around, even if I go to a restaurant and I don't take this in and I have water while I'm there, I may not count that, but I just make sure that I count, I know in my head that maybe, okay, yeah, I had water in there, but I always just try to track with this. That's my personal method. I know a lot of you have those bottles that have the time of day. So if that works for you, great. If you finish that bottle in a day, then just check it off on your tracker, right? And say, yep, I got it in. Okay, whatever you need to do. And again, you can just take the template and you can edit it to make it whatever you want to track. But I would just start with food and water. Just keep it simple, right? If we're going to build better habits, we got to start with one thing at a time. Okay? This is what I teach my clients to do too. We just start with tracking water. I don't actually teach them how to use this whole thing all at one time. We just do water first. And then we focus on protein. Okay? You just write your protein down. Okay? So just put write in the comments if you know that you need to write things down. Okay? I'm going to see if I can do some Q&A here. Julie had a question about best method, time of day, app or journal. And so again, like I mentioned, I would just start with writing it down, start with this template, keep things simple. Some people like to take the template that I have and put it in a binder if you want. That's fine. You could just keep it online too. This is a Google document. So then all you got to do is pull up the Google document in your phone. So you could even do that while you're traveling. I know I said you don't need apps necessarily, but you don't if you're using a notebook, right? It's just a method of writing it down, even if you want to use a notepad. Okay. Barbara says she's using MyFitnessPal to track my nutrition. It includes setting percentages of calories from carbs, fats, and proteins. What are the best percentages for weight loss? That's a great question. How important is it to stay under the calorie limit? All of those questions, again, a lot of it can just be trial and error. You need to see how your body's responding. If you have a specific thing you're working on, sometimes that can be where using a nutritionist could be really helpful because they can tell you more specifically what you should be working towards. But I'll be honest with you, even when I worked with my nutritionist, we had to just trial and error and see what worked. Okay. So look at the macro guide. If you want the macro guide, Barbara, let me know. Again, you will have to let me know in the comments if you want these free resources. I don't just have them out there because I want you to understand what they're for. I don't just want to throw you something without explaining things to you. So that's why this class is here. And so if you want those free resources, put free in the comments and let me know. Glow had a question about if someone makes something homemade, how do you figure out the nutrition? Again, understanding macros, what's in the casserole can really help you know your portions. Jody had a question about, I need to know about macros, portion sizes. Again, my macro guide will start to help you with that. Again, it takes some practice, it takes some learning, but I promise it's probably the most simple thing once you start to learn to pay attention and how to read packages and to know your macro sources, okay? Keisha had a question, make sure my nutrition is good, not just my calorie intake. Okay, so I kind of talked about that. The better food sources that are going to make you feel more full longer would be your veggies and your protein. That's again why I really focus on my 3 hacks, because especially for weight loss, when you're struggling with hunger or you're struggling with cravings, it just helps. It helps to put those things into practice more consistently. She asked best app or use or tracker on paper. If you're going to use an app, I would choose MyFitnessPal. Let's see, an idea of how much calories for each meal or snack. Sometimes I think my snacks need to be more, but I'm not sure. Again, that would be just some trial and error of knowing how many macros you need to eat. I would start with what I have on my macro guide and then see what works for you. And then Cheryl's question about, I'm not great at tracking macros, especially fats. Fats do take a little bit more practice. Reading labels, that's why it's really important to read labels and understand, is the way that they're tracking fats, is it a tablespoon? Some like nuts, usually they're like a quarter of a cup. So you really just have to look at the serving size. What does it say on the bottle for fats? And then go by that, and then go by the macro guide that I have, where fats are usually between 10, I think it's 10 to 15 grams. So that's one way you could do it. But yeah, that does take a little bit of practice. Okay. All right. So hopefully everyone was able to see the answers to their question. If you didn't see the answer to your question, I will reach out to you. I usually go back and watch this video, so if I need to, I'll edit it. Again, if you want those resources, put free in the comments. Let me know if you want my macro guide and you want that nutrition tracker, because those things together are going to help you just start writing things down, right? That's the first goal. And then starting to understand what your food is that you're actually eating. What source of fuel is it? Is it a protein? Is it a fat? Is it a carb? Then that will help you know how to balance things out. Okay, that's the simplest way that I like to teach people. Okay. Any other questions? I see, right? Someone says free. Okay, cool. I'm so sorry about the interruptions today. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to share, I have some updates, and it's called The Lord Teach Me to Study the Bible in 28 Days. If you're interested in doing that, I am going to be starting that on June 20th. Okay, June 20th, we're going to start The Lord Teach Me to Study the Bible. What I'm going to do with this, you will have to sign up just because I need to make sure I get everybody the info and the Zoom link and all the things. But I will be doing a once a week live Zoom discussion here in this group. This will be free. And so I'm planning to have signups start this Friday. Okay, so be watching for that information. If you want to do the Bible study, you will have to get the workbook. This is what it looks like. You should be able to order it on Amazon. But it's been very, very helpful for me personally, just to learn how to study God's word. If we really want to take our spiritual health to the next level and allow the Lord to be a part of this journey with us in our health as a whole, even physically, I really think we need to invite the Lord into our physical health. Okay. And there's a mindset we can shift with the help of the Holy Spirit on how we think about ourselves, why we're doing what we're doing. So it takes some practice to really understand what's going on in the Word of God, so that we can learn and we can actually use and apply the things that we're learning in God's Word to help us change our mindset, right? So signups will start on Friday. For that, I will post some stuff about that. Put Bible study in the comments if you want to be a part of that. If you haven't heard me talk about that yet, put Bible study in the comments. It doesn't take very much time each day, and honestly, I haven't I haven't been doing because there's like each day. Sometimes it takes me a couple of days to do one day. There's not going to be like a schedule. I'm not going to put a schedule out. It's really just however fast you want to go through it. But I really would encourage you to take the time to go through it. But what I was going to do is weekly just pop on. We'll talk about what lessons we've done, what your takeaways are from it, what you've learned, that kind of thing, just as an accountability to say, hey, how's it going? And then there's also some videos that go along with this that actually my personal mentor did. And so I'll be putting those in the group. All right. Okay, that's all I have for today. So if you want the free resources, put free in the comments. If you want to be a part of the Bible study, the free Bible study, put Bible study in the comments and let me know so that I can tag you on things when I have that stuff out. All right. Thank you for bearing with me today. I hope you guys have a great day. If you have any other questions, put them on this video as far as tracking goes. And if you want the free resources, let me know. I think that's it. All right. So you guys have a great day. I will see you all next time. Okay. Bye.